All right, in the cockpit here, heard the two Garmins. Couple things worth noting. One specifically is this switch here that's set for the display backup. You have to pull it and bring it up, but basically the 275s are configured if this is the primary, this is the ADI. If it fails, it'll automatically fail over to this one here. If you want it to manually fail over, then you can pull this switch. The problem with that is you don't want to do it unless it actually is a failure, because you have to completely restart all the avionics to get it to go back to this being the ADI, this being the HSI. So it's not something that you can just, you know, toggle this in flight and then expect to be able to just switch it back. And then of course we have the power plugs over here as well.
We're at about 13 an hour, and we're doing about 130 knots over the ground.
Left Lima, contact ground, 389 golf.
So what I want to do here now is
November 32 Golf, how are your approach turning? Up, about 122 Golf. 32 Golf, right, 40 midfield left down. 4 feet, 3 45 out. We're midpoint 19. Says 32, or correction, says 3 Bravo Golf. Traffic is at Cherokee turning on a half-mile left base to final, number 2, runway 11.
So what we're going to do here is see if we can switch this over to
November 328 Golf.
GPS.
Full stop.
Full stop, 328 Golf.
328 Golf, right, continuing bound from Port Midfield right.
Tracking mode here.
11, altimeter 3014.
See if this works.
Port Midfield, right downwind for 3014, 328 Golf.
Let's see. Correct.
November 3, Charlie Tango, Fable, turn left, taxiway Kilo, contact ground 119.12.
Left turn Kilo, contact ground 119.
Alright, so I just...
November 5-3, A3 Whiskey, traffic on a mile and a half final, runway 19.
For GPS steering mode, I just loaded up the approach. I'm going to get off the radio here, just make it nice and quiet. So what I just did, I don't know if you can see my scenario here, but you can see I'm turning back. So what happened,
November 3-8 Charlie Tango, George.
Do that instead. So keeping a vigilant eye out here. It doesn't seem too crowded today. It's a little bit hazy. I'm sorry that the cameras aren't super awesome, so I can have an outside view. But I'm flying VFR today, testing out this GI275 setup. So what I've done here is I have this approach loaded up for Hearne. It's a RNAV GPS approach. It should fly an LPV. This is a 430 watt, so we should be able to fly an LPV. What I just did a second ago was I had loaded the approach, activated the approach to this initial approach fix called CORAB here, and then when I went direct to CORAB, it needed to turn me a little bit left, and I had set the GPSS steering up. So as it is right now, it's flying the intercept to get to the not really an intercept anymore. That was my old GPS line. So basically, we're flying this intercept here to get to that, and then we're flying direct to CORAB. Let me switch through some of the menus here. So here's with the map over the top. We got 30 miles. Let's see if we can scooch in a little bit. So we're flying right over Granger Lake here. Yes, you can see what happens if we just kind of leave that. See if we see all the different fixes. approach. But as it is, we've got, so it's going to show us, I guess it doesn't show it on that one. Interestingly, when you switch over to this guy, you see your distance to your next, to whatever your next, you know, your ET to whatever your next fix is or your position doesn't show up. It also shows me how much time I have to get there. That doesn't show up on this particular map. Also cool, you get a CDI up on this top one here. This information comes from the 430. This is your track. So if you're on, you know, the CDI page on the 430, you'll see this maps directly to the track. And obviously, you know, you're trying to line the direct track into the track hub. And it's doing that perfectly. It shows 05 on the 430. It shows 054, and for the direct track, and then for the track, it shows 054. So we're lined up perfectly here. What I want to do here is put in 2600. See if we get any interesting stuff going on with that. Any audible alerts. So this did get hooked up into the audio panel. Now down here, you know, we got about 13 minutes until we start to see if we're going to do any steering or anything. Down here you can switch to, we obviously have the nav, there's a nav radio in the 430, and then we have a separate nav radio. So this would be the nav radio if you're flying an ILS approach. This would be what you would switch to for glide slope and localizer information. Interestingly, you can use this. This is, wait a minute, yeah, VR2. And so on the nav radio now, what we didn't have before, which is what we have now with the Century 31, you could actually fly a coupled approach. So ideally, obviously, if you're shooting an ILS, you'd have the localizer frequency in this nav2 radio, as well as obviously loaded little fuel switch here, as well as having that loaded into, you know, as a part of the, you know, loading the approach in the 430, so you'd have a nice backup. So if something was going squirrely, you would have, you would get your glide slope and localizer information here. It would also show up over here too, so you'd have these two instruments to compare and contrast. But interestingly, we also have the ADI. You can bring that up down here. Bring this back to GPS. The 430, see a waypoint flag coming up here. The 430 is telling me to make a turn. There was the RL notification. Looks like 200 feet to 2,600.
Hilltop traffic into 2307 Charlie. Left downwind, right downwind, 4017, Hilltop.
We'll level off there to stay above where we need to be. It looks like that turn went perfectly. 1.5 miles. I'll give you the heads up here too when the 430, it does its turn anticipation thing where it tells you, you know, to turn to 178 and 876-543. And you actually will see there'll be a waypoint. There you go. Be a waypoint notification. And now,
traffic with 201 final for 16.
The 430 is making that recommendation to make a right-hand turn. See, we're making that right-hand turn now. On to final approach course. I have the airfield, obviously have the runway inside. It's a beautiful VFR day here. So far, doing exactly what it's supposed to do here. Like we overshot it just a smidge, but Autopilot looks like it's gonna try to bring it back over. And line that up. So we got LPV.
Cherokee 6865 Whiskey, you'll be departing 14. You'll complex.
Watching everything close here. A little more power. Hearne traffic, Mooney 1158 November's on a 10-mile final. We're doing the practice RNAV 18 Hearne traffic. All right, looks like we've got a glide slope coming in. We got a glide slope up here. Oops. A little power out. Again, I'm not even gonna do flaps or gear or anything like that. Just gonna go mist. Looks like the glide slope is coming in there.
Cherokee 6865 Whiskey, left-hand departure Alpha 14. You'll complex.
Looks really good. Perfectly lined up with the runway here.
We'll wait for you. Hold on, just I'm trying.
01 Juliet, we're still a ways out. Go ahead and back that. You'll be fine.
Right there, just I'm trying.
Like it's keeping us a little bit high to leveling us off a little bit so that we intercept that glide slope, and then we should probably start to see a little bit of a descent here. Looking real good. It's bumpy as hell. It's doing a really nice job. Now see, it's kind of correcting back. We're a little right. Correcting back a little bit. Holding that glide slow, perfect. Your do is the final approach fix on this approach, and we'll probably just get to that. That shows we're 200 feet below. A little audible notification there. Our 2600 altitude. And so all I'm doing here is controlling the power, trying to keep us at around 100 knots or so. Obviously we're a little right of glide slope, but it looks like it's trying to correct that. Excuse me, right of localizer. Glide slope is pretty much dead on.
We'll talk about traffic, and then 2307 Charlie departing, 17 will be departing to the south. Hilltop.
01 Juliet, just entered midfield downwind for 17.
Hearne traffic, Mooney 1158 November is on a 5-mile final, shooting the RNAV 18 practice approach. We're going to go mist and head out to the west for Hearne traffic. All right, it's fighting back. We just passed the final approach fix. So we're going to turn the autopilot off, and we're going to get the prop back in. And get some power.
Hilltop traffic, Bonanza 2307 Charlie is clear, Hilltop.
So we'll look at the top. So you push this button in, you get some messages here. If there's any messages, we don't have any. The bigger button scrolls, so you can change the backlight. There's some system stuff here. There is an option with this thing to use a VFR GPS, so you can panel mount like a GPS antenna. And so, you know, if you're installing this in a 172 or a 150 or something, and you just wanted to fly GPS, you go direct to and have all that fun stuff. If we go to options again, it's touch screen here, so keep forgetting to do that. You go to options. This is where you go in and change the different airspeeds. So all on, all off. We'll put them on, see what that does. You can put minimums in. So you can put the altitude in for whatever the minimums are on this particular approach. It's 882 feet, so we can put the minimums in for that. So let's see how we do that. 882. We're not going to get down that far. Different sensor stuff, you can disconnect the autopilot from in here. That's pretty much different nav options. What the CDI is showing there, so you can show probably the localizer. You can see it changes it on the bottom too. Do that. Options there, I'm not sure exactly what that does. I don't want to mess with that right now. You can back out of here. Down here, as far as the options go, so the configuration that we have is a Century 31 Autopilot. So it's an older Autopilot. Obviously doesn't have any GPSS steering. It's a dual axis, so it controls you know, the wing leveling and then also altitude hold. It does have, I don't know if you can see it from where my hand is, but...
Great shot. County 121, Echo Mike, considering left cross on runway 16, departing to the east. Liquid.
It does have this rocker button you can press up and down. It's a little kind of, it's definitely an art, not a science, at trying to figure out vertical speed for that. You just kind of hold it until you get kind of close. And again, here's...
Traffic 220 Tango Foxtrot, about 3 miles east. Entering 45 downwind for runway 15, simple.
Alright, he's going where we're going. I don't see him on the map. Anyway, here's the vertical speed. This little thing where it shows with the arrow down. Autopilot's doing a pretty good job trying to hold it. We're right about 2,400 feet. I forgot what I was talking about before, but... GPS steering. So, to do GPSS steering, again, it's the old Autopilot. Garmin has this thing that they call, for the GI275, it's called GPSS heading.
Traffic 220 Tango Foxtrot, entering left downwind for runway 15, simple.
It has GPSS heading emulation mode, which is what we're doing now. And so, what you have a couple options here. So you get in the menu, you go options, you go heading options, and you can tap this and it switches the heading bug. So you can either use the heading bug in the traditional way that you'd use the heading bug. If you tap that, it goes back to heading, and then you can use the outer knob to just rotate the heading bug around, and then in the autopilot you just put it into heading mode. So it's this traditional way that we've been doing that forever. what's cool is that you can swing this into GPSS mode. You lose the heading bug. In fact, it doesn't, I'm trying to turn it, it doesn't, I mean, maybe because I'm on this thing. If I back it up here, maybe it'll, yeah. So it'll work. If you looked at the autopilot right now, it would tell you that it's on and it's in heading mode, but that's not doing anything. So what happens is you hold this down, get the menu, you go to options, you go to heading options. So it's a 3 kind of button press thing. And now we're in GPS heading mode. So you can see that's what we were doing on the last approach. It was making the turns for us. It did a really fantastic job. Pretty happy with that. The way I kind of see, you know, it's a little bit of a pain. The guys that installed this system for us said that they contacted Garmin to see if there was a way, if there's maybe a pin on the back of this thing that they could send out and maybe put like a little button switch on the panel that allowed you to do just a real fast switch where you could hit the button, it would change it to heading, you could hit the button again, it would change it back to GPSS steering mode, and unfortunately that's not available now. They didn't, I don't think he said whether or not they were going to do that or not, but that would be really nice if we just had like a button over here on the panel someplace where you could just tap it, you're in GPSS mode, you get back where ATC does something, gives you some vectors and things like that, and you want to just switch real fast instead of having to go in here and cancel all that stuff. Maybe that would cancel. I don't know. Let's see. No. So it doesn't do anything when you tap on that, but if they gave you a little switch here, that'd be great, where, you know, you're doing this approach and you're doing the magenta line, and then you get vectors and you just hit the button,
Traffic,
you get back to your heading bug, and then you can just, you know, go to whatever, 240 or something like that. As it is now, you'd have to go back in here, hit it, options, heading, hit that again to heading mode, now your bug is back. Obviously you'd want to pay attention to where your heading bug is prior to that, so you had it, let's say your vector was to 240, you'd probably want that on 240, and then, you know, make that change back where you switch it back, because if your heading bug is in the wrong spot and you end up turning to the wrong direction and you're in IMC or something, that could probably not be a lot of fun. So all right, so let's get down.
Civil traffic, 220, Tango Foxtrot, turn left downwind,
1800.
Correction, we're turning on base.
1800 here. Wait for that localizer to start coming in.
Simple traffic, 220, Tango Foxtrot, turn final, runway 15.
There it comes. We're going to do an altitude hold right here at 1800. Alright, let's see what that does. Double traffic, Mooney 105, November is on about an 8-mile final. We're on the practice ILS 15 for temple traffic. So far it looks good. So we've dialed in the nav2 radio as well, so we got a backup here. Get these two things. You see our glide slope here, localizer. I've got the runway in sight. We are a little bit right. Obviously the autopilot's in approach mode. About 106 knots or so over the ground. Been a steady.
Simple traffic 220, Tango Foxtrot, turn left crosswind, runway 15.
Simple traffic, Mooney 105 November, about a 6-mile final on the practice aisle left 15. Simple traffic.
Simple traffic 220, Tango Foxtrot, turn left downwind, runway 15. Central downwind, accommodation.
Appreciate that for 5 November. Alright, low power here, trying to keep us up high. Alright, let's put the nose down a little bit. We're lined up nice and pretty. We'll see if the glide slope does. Like it's coming in. Glide slope is alive. Traffic, about 3-4 mile final for 5 November. Again, we're just going to do a low pass. I don't even have a gear out. We're going to depart to the south with the traffic. Alright, now it's pointing us down. We are lined up just a smidge to the, obviously got a visual on it, but we're just a smidge to the right, which is indicating there. Trying to pull us back, I think. Feels like it. Here we go. Turning a little bit, trying to get us back. Stop full here, just begin. Lights up is great. If you find the wind or something, we're a little right, but I mean visually. Or the minimums here, 882, so we're about 1,300 feet. There it goes, it's kind of pulling us back over. Beautiful, beautiful thing.
Simple traffic 220, Tango Foxtrot, turn left base, runway 15, we have traffic in front.
Alright, we're short final here. If you got it, we're about 15 seconds from going missed and into the south for simple traffic. Alright, so autopilot is off. And here we go. Anyway, on our way to do the what kind of day we're looking at here. I had this other camera, but I've had my hands full, and my kids use my GoPros, and I don't know where all my mounts are. So this is kind of the setup that we have here in the cockpit. I know you've been kind of looking at it from this angle over here, but this is what we got going on. We got a beautiful day. We've stayed pretty low. We got lots of bugs on the windshield. And again, you know, the screen on these things is just pretty fantastic. Pretty awesome. So far, been really impressed with it.
So here we're looking at the Mooney. Here's the temperature probe that if you want, unfortunately it doesn't actually show true airspeed on the instrument. I think maybe they'll plan for that at some point. But if you want to replace your turn coordinator, as you saw in the plane here, or as you will see depending on where I put this in the video, you have to have this particular unit. So if you want to get rid of your turn coordinator and use the ADI for that, then this unit's required as well too. So anyway, that's where they put it on the Mooney.